All right, what is going on, guys? It is Adam, a.k.a. Marf, and this is Marfoogle News. Today, we have a ton to go over, so stick around. We'll be right back right after this. Nothing in the show should be considered legal, medical, or financial advice. The views of the callers can differ considerably and do not necessarily reflect my opinion, Dex's opinion, or anyone else who works with the show. You should always do your own research and consult with professionals. The internet is full of fake news, so please take everything with a grain of salt. If you have not already, it helps us out if you end up going through any of our affiliates, and it helps you out if you end up protecting yourself against cybercrime. NordVPN is one of the best and one of the easiest to use. If you do not have a virtual private network, it protects your IP address, which is your online identity, which actually connects to your real address and everything else. It also connects to you. If you know anything about how they are data logging and basically getting your profiles down, you can prevent that by having a VPN. Nord is, again, one of the easiest. Download it. It's like an on switch and off switch. All you have to do. Go to marfooglenews.com/VPN. Not only will you get a giant discount on this, but you will also be helping us. I appreciate your support, and I appreciate everyone that goes through any of our affiliates. I can't say thank you enough.
They said it was out of service. All of it is done on purpose. They said it was out of service. All of it is done on purpose. They said it was out of service. All of it is done on purpose.
All right, what is going on, guys? It is Adam, a.k.a. Marf, and this is Marfoogle News. Tonight we have a ton to go over, so if you are new here, remember that you can also go over to our website and follow along. You can grab a second device, you can grab a tablet or another phone, and you can actually read these articles with us. Now, when you go over there, you'll see it's very easy to navigate. You can, of course, go to today's thumbnail when it all goes down, out of service, and then you will see that there's every single article, tweet, video, picture, document, archived article is all there for your use. Again, you will see that it is all organized by our regular show. And then, of course, once you hit a big yellow bar, that is the web-only content. That is the stuff that is too hot for TV or too far to one direction for us to cover while staying neutral. Now, also, over on the right side, if you do want to support us in any way, or if you see an affiliate that you do want to go through, if you are planning on prepping or protecting yourself against an EMP, all of those boxes over there are able to go through, and those are affiliate links. That basically means that when you go and click those, it helps us by telling them we sent you, they send us a commission, they also give you a discount in most cases. Now, the last day of the EMP Shield contest is today. So remember, the very last part of our page for the last 20 days has been that EMP Shield giveaway entrance. So if you do want to try to win yourself one, these are professional devices. They are not cheap. So if you can, try to go over there and get entered. All right, let's bring in my co-host / internet brother, Dex James. What is happening and how are you doing?
Well, hello, Adam, and hello, Foogle fam. I am doing just fine.
So gas prices, most of you have noticed, have gone insane. It says that gas price stimulus checks proposals head to Congress. It says that essentially, with Americans still in shock over jaw-dropping rising gas prices, a few proposals have floated around Congress and elsewhere about offering some relief to drivers. Los Angeles on Tuesday became the first major city in the U.S. to reach an average gas price of over $6. That's according to fuel savings platform Gas Buddy, which reported the national average gas price in the U.S. beginning to decline since its peak of $4.35 per gallon on March 10th. It says Americans could get $100 per month energy rebate. One proposal comes from Representative Mike Thompson of California, John Larson of Connecticut, and Lauren Underwood of Illinois. It says the congressional lawmakers proposed that the Gas Rebate Act of 2022, where Americans would get an energy rebate of $100 per month and $100 for each dependent for the rest of 2022 in any month where the national average gas price exceeds $4 per gallon. It says that Americans are feeling the impact at the pump of Putin's illegal invasion of Ukraine. See how they put that in there? It says, and right now we must work together on common sense policies. So, first of all, that $100, first of all, they just put so much crazy money into all these different things. As we've been talking about for the last couple nights, they have been dropping veterans caregivers off. So the family caregiver program, people have been dropped off of that, but yet they suggest things like this. First of all, $6 or $7 a gallon. Some of these cars, if somebody has a work truck, just say that they are doing construction or something like that, $7 or 1 gallon in some places, or $6 for 1 gallon, that will get them 8 miles. It probably will not even get them to work and back. It used to be that where you could put $10 in gas and get along for the day, especially in a car. Now I've seen all these arguments online about people arguing about these limits that are on pumps now. One thing that is scary to me is some of these pumps are limiting to $75. In our big old SUV, which is a V8, which we have to have because we have 4 children and 3 car seats won't even fit in a regular car, we have to have an 8-seat vehicle, or at least a 7, right? And that vehicle gets probably 7 or 8 miles per gallon, probably less because it's bad, it's older, and it's high mileage. So it's like something like that, $75 doesn't even give us, or it gives us about half of a tank. So right now it's killing, especially families. People are arguing like, well, most people aren't driving that. Most people, in fact, if you look at the numbers, they sold 17 million cars in 2019, I believe is the last one that they really did the numbers. And then they sold 17 million cars and 11 million SUVs. That's not including any work trucks or any of the other kind of vehicles. That's just family SUVs. Most of those SUVs are way worse on gas. And we're talking about bigger tanks and everything else. When you fit in all of the trucks that people drive, depending on where you live, it's all trucks. That is incredibly, incredibly high, and the limit is incredibly low. So what's scary about that is when you are actually limited to how much gas. They're trying to do that because I've even talked to now 3 gas station owners that say people are hoarding gas. And that, as far as, if you remember at the beginning of CV, people were hoarding toilet paper and people were hoarding food and canned goods and everything else. And when you went to go get stuff, there was nothing on the shelves. Well, people are doing that right now with gas because they think it's going to get even worse. They're telling us it's going to get worse. And of course, none of the actions they're taking, other than something like this. This is kind of a kick in the stomach here, because even if they give us this, if it goes up, 3 times as much, or if it goes up even a couple dollars more in the next year, then that $100 won't even matter. Dex, what do you think about this whole thing as far as...
So, this is kind of crazy. So I think the thing that you have to remember is if the government is going to give you $100, they don't actually have it to give you. You're paying for it. So you're really just giving $100 to yourself that you're going to have to pay them back some other way. So it's going to come out of something else, and you're already paying for it. And this just adds on to the problem. Instead of actually fixing the issue, which is where I think some of the time should be spent. I think obviously this is a serious crisis in the sense that it is costing all of us a lot of money, right? And you go fill up the tank, and that hurts our pocketbook, and it makes it, you have to make decisions. Some families are making decisions how much food to buy versus how much gas to buy, right? Because these expenses have gone up and they weren't in their budget. So I totally understand it. But some of the things that don't make sense is, we have the ability, especially in a crisis like this, to actually supply ourselves and tell the rest of the world, hey, we're good, right? But we don't do that. So instead, we're pushing for other things. We're looking at, giving these rebates to sort of quell off the folks that may be upset, but we're not necessarily looking at real solutions, right? And that's what's kind of frustrating, I think. And by the way, in some areas, gas prices have gone down, but if you look at the details, like here in Georgia, they went down quite a bit, but it's only because we removed our tax. So they suspended our tax until May. Now, that may feel good because our gas went from like $4.40 down to like $3.90 or something like that. So it draws attention to how much tax is in our gas. But at the same time, we have to realize that's a lot of money that our state doesn't have right now. And they don't just make that money up from nowhere. So they've got to make it back up. So they're probably either going to turn it back on in May, or if they extend it, they're going to run an even bigger deficit, and we'll pay for it some other way. So,
So
it all
let
comes
me-
out of everyone's pocketbook at the end of the day.
Okay, hey, here's an idea. So the oil families are the richest families in the world. How about they reduce their profit? How about that? Right? That would never happen. I'm just saying. I wonder if any of these things that, of course, are essential to living. I wonder how much profit is actually in this. I know that it's supply and demand, but how much truly? I mean, you see these oil
Well, we're
tycoons
choking
and
off the supply, right? We're intentionally choking off the supply ourselves, along with others. So part of it is a conflict choking off the supply. Part of it is other countries that are wanting to game it to let the price go up because they make more money. And then we've got our own philosophical issues as to why we don't want this. So we're going to choke off our own supply. And then we have to tell everybody, hey, just deal with it, right? And that's kind of unfortunate. It's not fair. And by the way, the alternative that they want everybody to go to runs off of lithium, and lithium is going through the roof right now. So, EV car prices have gone up. So it's not like you can just run tomorrow and buy an EV car. Well, they're now even more expensive than they were last year.
Exactly. We were talking a lot about the lithium technology compared to NiCad and the old school NiCad, and before that, alkaline. As far as with lithium, if that is going to skyrocket, then where is the point if you're going to be if the electricity is going to go up so much so, and then I guess if you go down the line, it's still taking up a huge amount of energy. What do you think? Let us know in the comments down below. And then we have 570,000 chickens to be destroyed in Nebraska. Fight against the bird. So we have followed almost all of the cullings and all of the food-related kind of diseases, because this is something that is going to affect a ton of people. You may not see it, or you may not be somebody who gets frozen chickens or frozen, nuggets or things for your family. But anybody that is on a lower budget, there's a lot of items that are low budget. Chicken is one of the things that traditionally a lot of families have been able to do, especially frozen chicken. Everything is going up to the point where it is not even, it's almost like you can go out to the restaurant at the same price. As far as the chickens getting cold, this is going to hit in about a month or a month and a half. As far as the prices are going to go up even further. We have followed almost every single food, from eggs, chicken, milk, anything from a farm is basically going up, including all fruits and veggies because of now the transport costs. When you start compounding this, people are going to collapse. Our country is collapsing. Our world is collapsing. If you didn't know it, but at the beginning of CV and closing down for 6, 8 months, 10 months in some places, that has collapsed the world's economy. And now they are just basically keeping it afloat for as long as possible and trying not to panic people. But there's no way that we can just keep going on this system without a major change, without a WW3, without some sort of huge event that resets it all. And who knows, maybe that was part of the goal in the first place. There's no way to get rid of the old system and bring in something new without destroying that old system. And then Jeffrey Epstein, his private U.S. Virgin Islands locations are up for sale. The first thing I thought of is, man, imagine going through that island or being able to walk around with a metal detector. I bet you in 10,000 years, you're going to have archaeologists from an alien nation going through and finding all sorts of weird things on that island. It says, sorry about that, guys. It says the executors of the estate of convicted offender Jeffrey Epstein have listed for sale the 2 private Caribbean islands the late financier owned off the east coast of St. Thomas. It says that an attorney of the estate told ABC News on Wednesday. The asking price is $125 million, according to 2 sources. Epstein purchased the private island Little St. James in 1998 for about $8 million and established his permanent residence there in 2010, around the time he was released from his first jail sentence in Palm Beach, Florida. He liked to refer to his estate there as Little St. Jeff's. Oh, that guy is just a piece of work, according to testimony that emerged last year during the criminal trial of his former girlfriend, Ghislaine. And then, of course, EpiPen later acquired ownership of a larger neighboring island, Great St. James, where he was in the process of building a new estate there at the time of his arrest in 2019, according to court and property records in the U.S. Virgin Islands. So, by the way, there's also, Dex, is the smaller island, is that the one with the weird kind of demonic temples and things? Is this a different property? Do we know?
I'm pretty sure it's the one that got all of the attention. Little Island is the one that had all the attention, had all the drone flyovers, had all the investigations and stuff happening on it.
That is so creepy. Yeah, like I said, who knows what's on that island or buried on that island? I wonder. I wonder if they ever searched it or dug or used any special machinery to see if there's anything buried on the island. As far as people, things, rings, whatever. Imagine all of the rich elites that have visited that island. One of them probably dropped their $18 billion wedding ring, Maybe there's some folks out there with metal detectors. V. Corio, thank you for subscribing. Go Beyond the Hedge, thank you as well. Survival Living, nice to see you here tonight again. Thank you for commenting last night as well. Talking about the Ganda. And then thank you, Raina Nebeker. Thank you as well for coming in and subscribing. Welcome to the Foogle fam. Welcome to the Marvia. So what do you think about these islands? Do you think they're creepy? Do you think $125 million, by the way? He bought it for $8 million. Now it's worth $125 million. That is 24 years. The property has gone up over $100 million. That's why the rich keep getting richer and the poor keep getting poorer. The longer that you cannot buy a house or land, the longer you will not be getting ahead. Online banking will go down. The NHS will be crippled and petrol pumps will run dry. That's a very scary sentence there. It says online banking will go down, the NHS will be crippled, and petrol pumps will run dry. How President Putin would unleash cyber conflict on UK with very sophisticated arsenal in his playbook. So, Dex, do you want to talk about how, again, this would work and how this would go in and affect people?
Well, yeah. So this is a more detailed, statement coming from the UK, which is very similar to the statement we got from our president, who said that, hey, these attacks are coming. But in this case, they're basically saying this is what they expect to see happen. So having things like, the banking systems be attacked, having, the fuel systems run out. And by the way, just think about this. When the pipeline that was based in the South that ran through Georgia and many other states had a cyber event at it last year or maybe the year before, I think it was last year, it crippled the gas pumps, right? Because these pumps, did not have the ability to restock. So we didn't have fuel for a while. And it was, so that was a cyber event. It did happen. It turned out it was more of the ransom type stuff. So it wasn't more of an attacking type mode. It was more of a, hey, we're just going to lock your stuff up, but pay us and we'll give it all back to you kind of mode. So it's a little different. But the notion of that is very similar. So there's pipelines that run everywhere. There's infrastructure that runs everywhere that helps, manage whether it's fuel delivery or power delivery or other major infrastructures, and having that kind of stuff go down, especially banking, that's all going to cause just, heads to roll, so to speak. Everybody will be upset if they can't get any gas, can't get any money, can't get anywhere. And that's exactly the type of, event that you would see happen in a major conflict like we are basically in now. And these are the types of things. This is the new version of conflict, and we're bound to see this type of thing happen, whether it's in the UK or here or in both.
So here's what we need to talk about as a group, and as if you are new here, we have been talking about this for now several years, and this is one of the most likely out of all of the crazy scenarios that could be possible, and some of them are a real possibility. People, don't think about this stuff like asteroid hitting Earth, right? But of course, we all know that's a possibility, right? As far as the probability of any scenario, this has been the largest probability. This has had the highest risk as far as another nation state knocking us out with a cyber event. Now, one thing that I didn't point out the other night, in fact, I read most of his words, but you can see it right there. President B said in his speech, he says that they want to do a massive cyber attack. He then just casually said it's coming. It wasn't taken out of context when you watch it in its entirety. I don't know if that was in an accident or if that was written into his speech. Again, he does go off script sometimes, but he said it's coming. I didn't need him to say that, but a lot of folks are actually waking up to this, and they are now messaging saying, oh, you were right. And I'm saying, don't listen to him. You should listen to your gut. When any of this happens, when all of a sudden, like Dexis told you as well, it's like if your car stops running, if you go to your phone and your phone is not working either, and the power is out and none of the stoplights are working, that is go time. Like, that's when you know something has just gone down. People don't want to talk about it. People are afraid of it. People say that it's fear mongering. What I don't understand is if you never talk about this, then when it does happen, how do you not talk about something like this? Especially when you have all of these announcements, them telling you it's going to happen. It's like a matter of fact thing, just like they said the invasion of UKR was going to happen, and all of this. I guess I think it's a better argument to say like, oh, what is the motivation behind it? Or who is really behind it? That would be a good argument. But if it's going to happen or not going to happen, it's eventually going to happen. It has. I mean, think about our society. Think about every last known attack has been a physical attack. Now they can do that same sort of damage, or even 10 times the damage, with this. So I don't know why people are so afraid of this that they don't want to talk about it. It's taboo. If you tell somebody to stock up, I'm sure many of you have told your friends and family, like, you need to have extra water, you need to have extra food, and they just kind of look at you like you're crazy, like you're wearing a tinfoil hat. There should be none of that. Even I guarantee you, any of the people that we consider skeptics or critical of what we're saying, I guarantee you, most of them, after listening for 5 minutes, are probably going out and getting stuff themselves. Like, you have to realize at this point, no matter what you believe, you should believe that they're not above this. And by they, I mean the major powers of this planet. There's something going down that's massive. Look at all of the movements. Look at all the money being dumped. Look at all of the CEOs leaving their posts. Look at all of the literal fire sales going on around the world. Look at all of the elites looking at ways to get off this planet. There is something massive coming, and nobody is going to be ready for it because it's such a taboo thing that nobody wants to talk about it. As far as blackouts, no mobile phone service and online banking cuts out. When you go, this is why a lot of preppers have a little bit of money stashed aside, or they have it buried, or they have it somewhere. They have it in their safe. Because when you go to the ATM and that service does not work, that is going to be something everyone took for granted and didn't realize once it's out, it's out. Even that is one of the easiest things they could do, is go after our financial institutions.
And Adam, I had this debate with some family members about what to do, and when it comes to things like money. And again, this is not financial advice, but the thought was, have enough that you can get by, but you don't need to necessarily dump everything right into fiat or into cash. At least that was the thought process we were going through. And I look at it like this: if you keep a stack of cash so much that it's enough that you can help yourself when you need it, but it's not enough that it causes an undue burden for you to protect, right? And then you keep that topped up. In other words, if you spend some of it, you replace it so it's always there, and you do that frequently. And the same logic would go with your gas tank, right? If we're looking at, if we think there's going to be a possibility where you may not be able to get gas at some point, whether it's due to supply issues and demand issues or just a cyber event, right? Well, if you always fill up, in other words, you try not to go down below 3/4 of a tank and you just top up every so often, then you will always at least have, 3/4 of a tank of gas. You won't be left on E the day it happens. You don't want to be that one who's on E and there's no gas to be found, right? So if you sort of do some little changes to your daily life on how you manage those things and try to keep the full at the full mark, it can give you an advantage later. And it also helps you from a cost perspective because you're not necessarily buying at the highest price later for a full tank. You're spreading it as it grows, spreading the cost.
And I understand there's a lot of people that are like, well, realistically, there's no way I'm always putting in my last $5. Do whatever you have to do and I guarantee you, and I've been beyond broke down to always letting that light turn on in my Honda. Once I had that fuel light turn on, I had a good 40 miles, and I knew exactly how many miles I had because I tested it. I even had a gas can. Every time I've had a car, I actually do that. I've tested it because if you don't test it, you don't know how many miles after that gas light turns on you have. So what I'll do is I'll actually put a gas car. When I bought my 95 Honda, my 93 Honda, my 92, I would always put a gas can in the back and run it dry after that light. And I knew I had about 40 miles after. And that's right. That's in a Honda that's really gas efficient, right? In our SUV, it's like 5 miles and it's done. Once that light comes on, you're done. I understand that it's hard, especially now when, most people just a couple of years ago, it's like you could only get $5 or $10. I mean, it's crazy because how many people do you see put $10 on their pumps? A lot. And if you're sitting behind them in line at the gas station, that $10 is going to be a gallon and a half. That's like crazy. They must be driving a mile and a half or something, right? Even if they have a really gas efficient car, that's still not much. But you have to do whatever it takes. If you have to go and do labor ready, or you have to go do a daily labor job where you get $50 or $60 and you put it in your car, get it to full, and then do whatever you have to do. Fix the freaking the stupid thing so it says you're empty when you're actually at 3/4, because you need to be filling it up when it's at 3/4. Not when it's empty. There is going to be so crappy when stuff goes down, because you are going to see lines down the street for gas. And then when you get there, you might not get any. They're going to run out of gas like that at every gas station, all of the ATMs being down, everything else. Think about it.
And in addition to being prepared by doing that, if you don't run your tank empty, you actually can make your fuel pump last longer too. That's really bad for your fuel pump when you run it down that low on most cars.
Yeah, it's usually, and cars actually, I feel like they've run better if you're over half a tank. If any of you have ever noticed that, let me know in the comments down below. So at this point, I think people need to really pony up and stop being afraid, and they just need to start making plans for this and think about it as a serious thing. There are ways that you can be more comfortable through any kind of event. I mean, if you live in Tornado Valley, or if you live in a place where there's always going to be a storm, you have certain supplies that people don't. Right now, we are all living in Tornado Valley. We're all waiting for something to happen. So everyone should be getting basic supplies. And if everybody did, think about how that would reduce all of the damage around the country. If everyone thought the same way right now, and if this was ingrained in our society, and if they actually told us through media and told us through everything else to have this kind of stuff, then the cross damages from all of this would be a lot less too. Like people stealing and people robbing and people taking your stuff because they don't have any when this happens. That would be reduced if this was ingrained into society like it is in other places. In Russia, you can say what you want about them, but on their daily television and in their daily things, they're always telling people how to prepare. And you can say it's for Ganda or it's for saber rattling, but at the end of the day, they have made their people been so hyper aware and hyper prepared, and then they have shelters all over their cities. They have clear markings. If something really bad went down here, if we had a nuke here, nobody would know where the shelter is. How many people do you know that know where their local nuclear shelter is? We would be waiting until we got a notification. And if you don't get that cell phone notification, then what are you going to do? That's something that nobody is thinking about right now, and people have to think about. It's way past that time right now, and it will hit in a surprise fashion. They won't give you a warning. Go ahead.
And Adam, it's, the flip side on this, back to UK, they're talking about NHS. And for those of you that aren't in the UK or don't know what NHS is, that's their health service, right? And they have a single health system that runs for the whole country and for everybody there. So think about that as a target, right? If all of a sudden they cyber something against that, they can bring down medical for the entire nation, not our nation, but theirs, right? And the similar thing could happen here, but we only have, on some regards, like, there's chains of hospitals, there's hospital, groups that have large number of hospitals, but they're all independent. So they'd have to hit each one independently. But, you could hit Medicare or something like that platform, and it could cause, have an effect to a lot of people. But just, these are the types of critical things that we sort of take for granted that actually run on top of a whole lot of IT, and they can't really function if all of that is broken. It's like they can't, they couldn't go so far as to deal with, security cards and who can get into a building, who's allowed to be where, let alone pull data, look at medical records, make the other equipment work that has to be connected to those networks, right? All of that stuff just sort of falls apart, right? If they actually take an event against something like that, right?
Dex, if medicine, they have to order everything in the hospital system. If they are to give you fluid, if they are to give you water or oxygen, they have to make an order for that. If they're not able to do that, it would take a significant amount of time for them to go back to the old system. And I guarantee you there would be this chunk of time in between where every hospital would be stuck up and not know what to do. They would have to manually go back to old school and say, okay, what are we going to do? And then they have everything digital, including how much medicine is there. You have a whole hospital of things going on. And of course, then something bad goes down and they're all now flooded with other things coming in, like people robbing each other and stealing and everything else. And that's all coming in. At the same time, those hospital workers, those doctors and those nurses, they are now trying to leave the hospital to go save their families. There is so many things that could go wrong at the same time. I also want you to think about everything we have covered. They have now there have been different events that have gone after our Colonial Pipeline, of course, gas. There have been ones that go after our satellites. This is just here in the U.S. And if you go to the U.K., you will see that all of these little things attack the different things that are all part of this kind of whole plethora. Gas, energy, hospitals, power plants. You have attacks on the banking systems and hacks. So what if each one of those, they had spies in any nation state? We're doing this to them, they're doing it to us. They go through and they do these things and they see how we respond. And every country has spies on the inside. So they're looking at, okay, we do this and then this is their response. Then they know for when the big time comes where they hit everything at the same time, how everything is going to run. But see, now we don't even need that to happen because the bad guys accessed our Black Start program here in the U.S. So, and I know that there are people watching from Australia, from UK. You all have similar programs. And now it looks like almost all of them have been accessed. So the plans that we had after our grid goes down, those plans have now been accessed and are almost null and void because they now have access to exactly what we're going to do to fix those problems. And even that plan took 9 to 18 months to get everything back up and running. The Transformers, that if they knocked out, just as of a couple of years ago when they did these studies, they showed that those Transformers are not even built here. A lot of this stuff is not built here. The reason there's waiting lists on certain things is because there are certain things that are just not made here in the U.S. There's certain things that are just not made in the U.K. We gave away these essential things, for today's civilization, are only made in certain countries. Why? It's all money, and they don't fix something until it's broken. And now it's been broken for a very long time. Now they need to fix it before it's absolutely destroyed, and they're not going to. So this is one of the biggest things out there, and people need to pay attention. Jerry Shirts, JRI Shirts, thank you. Maybe silver is even better, but honestly, at that point, pretty scary. Trust will be the most valuable commodity. Another thing is, there will be essentials that will be more valuable than gold or fiat currency. There will be salt. Salt is required for a human being to live, right? Eventually down the road, something like salt could be a currency if it really all went down. And this sounds, to somebody listening in that's not into this stuff, they think, oh, this is all like end of the world fiction or fantasy. The thing is we have seen the signs for now years, all leading up to something massive. Now the rest of the world is seeing these signs. Now they're talking about it in public. But it's like we've seen all of this going down in the first place. Everybody knew this was coming because we connected the very obvious dots. But what they did with the obvious dots is every time an obvious dot was connected, they would just say, oh, no, that's silly. The news and fact checker, why do you think they created this whole thing? This whole system of just saying, you'll know something's true. You saw it with your own eyes. Somebody says a word and they're like, no, they didn't say it. That's you hearing it wrong. I mean, they've literally gone that far to where you're not hearing that. There's no K in that word. What do you mean? Nope, you're hearing it wrong. It's false. They're driving people crazy because at this point they're telling you things that are false. And then months later, how many times have we been told something is completely false? And then a few months later, they're like, yeah, it's completely true. How much trust have you lost in almost everything out there? So I do agree with that point where trust will be a valuable commodity. Everybody that got scorpion stings 3 times will get Freddie Mercury by fall. In more article, what is going on with that? I'll have to check that out from a doctor. And then let's see here, Irish Rebel. Thank you. Thank you for your support. Massively thank you guys for supporting independent. I'm hoping that you and everybody else is getting their ducks in a row. We are all being funneled into a culling machine, says Bible Talk for Common People. It feels like it, doesn't it? Like a big mega city, right? GT Forum and a lot of new people. Thank you. Free video 051, Dan S, Michael Bluebush, and Bulbush, I think I said that wrong. Avakin Kira and Kayla Gusine. Thank you so much. Gambian Official Music Channel. Thank you as well. And then Corrado Spataro from Canada says, hello, my friends. I've been prepping for years. You name it, I have it. I have 185 gallons of gas. I've been very creative storing everything I have. Thank you so much. Helping me and others. Best channel in my book. Hey, Corrado Spataro, thank you so much. And again, Canada has its own set of different things that are going down right now. You have had hacks. You have had your information accessed. Worldwide, almost everyone has at this point. And then Be Real Beast says, welcome new subscribers, stay everyone, and God bless. Hey, thank you, Be Real Beast, and thanks for everybody that actually does welcome in all the new names. So thank you. So with all that being said, just have your stuff ready. That's why we've worked with people like EMP Shield. That's why we have had them for affiliate for 3 years. Well, we're on it. Make sure to go over and check these guys out. You can actually protect yourself. I think this will save lives. Any affiliate that we have, we believe will either save a life or help you live better. So there is a point to all of these. I think that a lot of us forget that all of this is now here. This was 3 years ago. People thought we were crazy and thought we were stupid for doing this. They're like, oh, okay, we really need EMP protection. And now they're telling you everyone should have it. So I guess we were a little bit ahead of the curve. But now at this point, everybody's like, oh, of course you have that because of this. We've had it for 3 years, Jack. So think about it. You can protect yourself against all three phases of an EMP, E1, E2, and E3. Marfooglenews.com/EMP. If you're waiting for literally for it to happen to get it, then I guess that's, don't fix it until it's broken, right? Marfooglenews.com/EMP. You'll get $50 off per device, which most of you will need at least a generator and a house one if you want your backup system to work and your house items to work after these happens. This also protects you against the natural kind, which we're overdue for and will happen. That's the other thing. A massive CME hitting Earth is a matter of time. It is not a matter of if. It will happen, and it will affect our grid. At least if it happens soon, we are very screwed because we are very vulnerable. All right. Dex, let's talk about our next piece here. UK are expected to get new NATO aid to protect against weapons of mass destruction. Oh, man. WMDs have a real bad stigma with invasions and the U.S. and everything else.
Well, yeah, and we talked about how there was a mad dash for the population and NGOs buying equipment, especially out of the U.S. and other locations for this. So it's no surprise now that they come out and tell us that they're expecting something like this to happen, right? We've seen the fear, we've seen the buying, we've seen the shortages of this type of equipment here where we can't get it, or it's taking us a couple months to get any of that. And now we're looking at the military side and what they're saying they're doing and what they're expecting. Now, I'll remind you that we've seen these types of things in similar conflicts. So when I say similar, I mean, if you go to the ME and you look at the country that begins with S, that has a lot of oil lines running through it that we've spent a lot of time in, and the Bear spent a lot of time in, there were plenty of events there that were he said, she said, as to whether or not they were organic or created or, staged, right? So we have to sort of, and it's even in this article, it talks about that possibility of a Fantastic Freddy, right? But I think, we have to sort of look at this information and say, why is it coming out? Why are they saying they're doing this? Why are they preparing for it? For various reasons, whether, again, it's an authentic preparation or whether it's a creation of preparation. We have to know, and it's good for us to look at, right?
And also what the information is that is coming out from even our groups is not related to the US or UK or to Europe or Australia. It is over there that something massive, that there's this big thought that big weapons are going to be exchanged. They keep talking about this, of course, in the back pages as well. We just talked about this recently, how Poland is preparing for possible, essentially the stuff from a nuke to be going over their border. And if it does, what they said is that would be a red line. And if any kind of radiological kind of stuff goes over their border, then that will be attacking Poland. And then that will be you attack one, you attack all. That would be NATO going to conflict. That would be WW3. That would be all of NATO versus Russia and its no limits partner China and everybody else. And now they just keep pushing it. They keep pushing it that there's a possibility for this chemical. Well, what is the next step after that? If they're used, how has it been used in previous conflicts, whether it was manufactured, whether it was just a video, whether it was whatever? It was used to escalate. And this isn't a small proxy thing anymore. This is something where if this escalates, it goes from just this country and that country to a direct confrontation. This is why preppers are prepping. This is what preppers have been talking about for years. This is what channels like mine have been talking about for years. And no one believed us. And I guess the argument is what the motivation is. But I think in the back of our minds, we're all very, very hesitant to believe anything that's coming out of media. And you want to think, oh, it's just all for show. But what is the fake part? What are the fake parts? There's definitely fake parts. There's definitely theater. But are there going to be real victims? Are there going to be real consequences from this? Are there going to be real power moves that actually real land grabs? That is the question here. That is what is on everybody's mind. Everybody is afraid of this. And if you say you're not afraid, then you're lying. I'm sorry. Everybody in the back of their head is afraid that this is going to get worse. And that's why we talk about it. If you talk about it, you can get mentally prepared and a lot closer to, not freaking out when it does happen. What happens when all of a sudden you're hit in the side of the head with a disaster? Most of us go into shock for a few minutes. I bet you that most of you that watch my show on a regular basis, that we talk about this, you can call it fear-mongering, but you can also call it getting used to this so you don't freak out, you don't freeze up. When we actually did have an earthquake a few years ago, I was incredibly impressed with my family being able to get all of our go bags and be out in a matter of seconds. So that's only because we prepared for it and that we were thinking about it. You have to think about every scenario. This is now a probability instead of a possibility. It very well may be one of these, right? I'll zoom in on that. It very well may be this. But will there be real consequences? Will there be real things that end up affecting everybody on the planet? Just so you know, in case you've been under a rock, this is planetary at this point. So whatever they want to do, whatever the goal of all of this is, it's going to affect all of us. And if you don't think that, then you really need to open your eyes and see what's going on. This is now planetary. Whether it's a theater or it's real, it's a theater that all of us are in the audience for. And if they're using real stage, if they're using real cigarettes on stage, we're all going to breathe in the secondhand smoke. Heather Hatch, thank you. Simply Pony, thank you for your support. Didn't even write anything. Thank you, Simply Pony. W Sugar XR 600, thank you for subscribing. Welcome to the Foogle fam. Over on DLive, we have several folks that have just popped in. Thank you, everybody. I appreciate all of the DLive crew. Groovy Grandma, thanks. Love. Hashtag Groovy Grape Grandma. Release the Quackin', and we've got Me Puppet and Bear Claws, Sane J DLive. Hey, nice to see you. Nice to see a new DLiver. And then Seppuku and I Love Jesus Forever and Moxie71 and It's Jay. Thank you, everybody that has popped in. Thank you, Chance Paladin and Gem and whoever else is over there. Lisa K23. Everybody, much love. So what do you think about this? Let us know in the comments down below. And then NATO is to set to boost forces on its eastern flank. So we've heard a ton about them bolstering their forces on the eastern flank. What's crazy is they've been adding more and more and more and more, and we have covered this because we've paid attention. They always say it's just a little bit at a time. Now, this is like the 20th time we have heard them say they're bolstering forces. So we don't know how many are truly being deployed. But even if you go off of what is being sent out through social media, there are thousands and thousands of posts of people saying that their family are now getting deployed. You don't need to share top secret information to know there's a ton of people deployed right now. We have active military watching this channel right now from bases, and they are saying that stuff is going down, that they're getting moved around, that they won't be able to watch next week because they are going to be in a country that won't be able to access this. It says NATO is set to agree to reinforce its eastern flank with a major new deployment of combat-ready troops to Central and Eastern Europe, speaking ahead of the gathering of NATO leaders in Brussels. Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg stressed that the alliance does not want a direct conflict with Russia. It says, even so, allies are likely to commit a substantial increase in forces in Eastern Europe for the long term, he said. In the short term, more equipment to protect against chemical, nuclear, or biological weapons will be sent to help the UKR forces. It says, I expect leaders will agree to strengthen NATO's posture in all domains, with major increases to our forces in the eastern part of the alliance, on land and in air and at sea. Dex, they essentially just said that they're pumping more and more and more into the eastern flank and into Europe.
Yeah, and ultimately we supply a lot of, and probably the majority of, excuse me, the personnel or the military that's going to actually be there under NATO control, right? So these are, our men and women that are going to that front line. This is our equipment. And it's all under command of, the NATO system or the NATO commanders. So it is important for us to know when they're doing this, because it's putting more of our people in harm's way. In addition to the rest of the countries, I don't want to dismiss the fact. UK probably has plenty of soldiers there, and every other NATO country probably does too. But obviously, we're one of the biggest, and we supply the most. We supply the most equipment, the most money, the most people. So, yeah.
And they said, once again, the extra support is likely to include cybersecurity assistance and equipment to help Ukraine protect against chemical, biological, radiological, and nuclear threats. They have repeated this, like it's on repeat. They're saying it over and over and over again. They are saying there's going to be some sort of chemical event of some sort. They're saying there's possible nuclear this, nuclear that. We don't know if it will actually happen, or we'll see a video one day surface on social media and everybody will go, oh my gosh, they did it. And it will be on the headline of every paper. And we're not physically there. We're not breathing in the snow, right? The ashes aren't falling on our heads. But will the effect be the same? Will it change the planet? Yes. So if that is what if, just hypothetically, what if it is done or somehow faked, and it gives us reason to then go in and take out the bear, and then the bear does a last-minute retaliation, which we have accounted for. We try to block most of it, but some of them get out, and then something happens. Or the bear's in on it, and the eagle and the dragon, they're all in on it. Maybe it is to reduce the amount of us here on the planet. Who knows? But I do know that preppers will not be caught off guard by pretty much any of these scenarios, because we're all looking at each and every one of them. And then U.S. officially declares that the Bear forces have committed conflict crimes in UKR. So whether this is Ganda or not, the point is the major powers are declaring that the Bear is committing these crimes. Now, Dex, can you explain to me why? What would the difference be if they say that there's crimes of this nature being committed? How can that change things? Can that make it easier for us to go to conflict, or is this just to for public reasons, or I guess what happens then?
Yeah, it's definitely part of a narrative. Ultimately, at the end of the day, unless there's some sort of trial going over this, it can't. There's not much else that really matters. But there is this notion of trying to make sure they're keeping and gaining support with other nations around the globe, right? And when somebody says, well, we're not gonna vote yes or no, we're gonna hang out over here, well, then they could say, so by doing that, you're basically supporting a conflict criminal, right? So it sort of puts people in a position, or puts countries in a position where they now feel obliged to potentially side with our side, right, so to speak, or with the NATO side that is putting this out. And
It's
actually,
kinda
this
like-
is coming from the U.S. government. So the U.S. government is officially saying this now. So
It's
Go ahead.
kind of like if somebody if they somebody said, hey, we're going to have an anti racism protest in your yard, and you're like, I don't want that in my yard. Oh, so are you racist then? You don't want anti, what do you want in your yard then? You want the opposite? It's kind of like you support a war criminal? Okay. All right. I wonder if they are declared, if there's ever a trial and they declare certain people criminals, then wouldn't that not be where if you help them, you are actually supplying or aiding a criminal, and then you can be held under certain kind of laws and things.
Well, and I think when it comes down to a trial like that, like how is it even fair, right? How does it even, it's pretty much if 80% of the nations are against you, and then they do bring about a trial like that, you're pretty much convicted, right? There's not like you're going to get out of it, no matter if it was true or false, no matter how much you can try to prove it, there will probably be so much more of a mountain of evidence against you, whether that is true or not, right? Then, so it is, again, it goes back to, it's more of, like you said, your example was perfect about let's have a rally on the front yard, right? And you don't support that. So that's exactly what this is right now.
So I think this next piece I think it's BS, just because he's not doing public appearances. I think it goes with the kind of overall thing that they are saying, which is all of these generals are getting their hands slapped and they're not doing well enough, and they have put this kind of narrative out there that President Vlad is they're making him look a lot like they made Kim Jong-un look, right? Like whoever he doesn't like, he'll put in front of an anti-air missile, or he'll take out his own uncle. He's just anybody who makes fun of him, he's gonna just get rid of. They have done this with a ton of pieces, and it may be true, but that is what they're pointing out, and I almost feel like that's where this is going. They said Vladimir Putin's defense minister vanishes with heart problems as the conflict stalls. It says Sergei Shoigu, which is a big name. We've covered a million different things over the last year with him in it. He's involved in almost all of these defense related things, especially with our side and their talking. Shoigu is a big piece of this puzzle. Has not been seen for 12 days, and old footage or pictures have been shown of him on TV, say reports in opposition media. He was mentioned in the Kremlin report on March 18th, but no visuals of him were shown. So they're saying that possibly he's gone, whatever else. It says Shoigu 66 was mentioned in a Kremlin website report saying he and President Vlad had discussed the, quote, progress of the special operation in Ukraine with permanent members of the Security Council. Special operation, right? What if they all know and it's like, oh, this is just all theater, right? On the same day, state-controlled Channel 1 aired a story about Shoigu presenting awards. So who knows what's really going on? But I bet you then they'll say, oh, he punished him for not doing well enough or something. And then we have President Vlad, advisor Anatoly Chaboy quits and leaves over the invasion of UKR. So you see a lot of this, that everybody hates him for his decisions. And, think about this. Are you seeing a ton of stories from any of our media saying how the Russians are proud of their country and what they're doing? You'll never see that for sure. I don't know if you'll see that on the Russian side either, because they're all banned and hidden. But you know what I mean? Like, there is a certain amount of people that no matter what their country does, whether it's wrong or right, they're going to be proud of and right behind it. And like, well, hell yeah. It's kind of like, they're only showing you one side of reality too, though. That's the problem with this. As somebody who analyzes news, well, you know when it's only one-sided. It's very one-sided. It's insanity. Before we go on, I do want to remind you guys, there is many risks out there, and one of them is not having power. So this is one of the coolest things in the world. If you have not already, if you're new here, make sure to go check this out. It is a solar generator. If you don't know why a solar generator is really incredible, one, they are absolutely silent, so nobody will know that you have one running. You can run it inside, so you don't have to worry about not waking up after having your generator running. Gas-powered generators, they are just like a gas-powered engine, and you can't run them inside next to you. On top of this is one of the most flexible, possibly solar generators out there, because a lot of them are self-contained. So you have a little box, it says it's 1,500 this and whatever number, but then it is stuck there. You cannot add batteries to it. This you can actually stack on a battery and on a battery and on a battery. In fact, you can connect up to 96 of these batteries to one unit. Now, just one unit sold with one battery is enough to power many. In fact, it could power 2 or 3 rooms in your house with extension cords, of course. But again, this you can also mod out so it can actually charge way faster than anybody else. Usually these things are pretty dumb, I would say, because you can only charge them one way or the other. This is a smart system as far as you can be charging it with your car, you can be charging it with the wall, and solar panels all at the same time. In fact, you can mod it out so you can do that extremely fast. That is the big difference. If you are able to, say, double the amount or even triple the amount of panels that you are using and charge it in a third of the time, then that is something that, again, a lot of these things are not capable of doing. One of the hugest big differences about this is the amount that it can input all at the same time. When you are able to charge it in a hurry or in a very small amount of time, that also means that you'll need less sun. If you only have 2 hours of sun where you're at, or where your bug out is, or where your campsite is, it's got a lot of cloud cover and you only got 2 really good hours. This you can make it with the combination. If you end up having portable solar arrays, then you can end up putting them out, getting it fully charged, and have a night or 2 nights of power. So this is really incredible. Make sure to get on the list right now. Right now, these things are in such high demand that there is a list. You want to be on that list if you want to get this as soon as possible. A lot of people have the thought, well, if there's a list, I want one right now. And what they end up doing is they'll spend about the same amount and they'll get a inferior one right now, and then they'll regret it. This is a big purchase. So if you are going to get one that you can expand, get one that is high quality, and also get one that can use pretty much any kind of power input. If you are getting one that, certain ones will only work with certain panels, this and that, this is a smart system that works with basically anything and everything. So again, that's Energy with an I. Make sure to go over. It helps to support our channel. At the same time, you end up getting one of the most incredible solar generators out there. This doesn't have to be for the end of the world. It can be for when you have a storm or a freeze or a power outage for a week, or rolling blackouts like they had in California. Marfooglenews.com/energy. Make sure to use the code Marfoogle. All right, and then Dex, let's go into Shaboy. Shaboy quit over here.
Well, I will say this, Adam. The one thing I did do was we both did. We verified that this information is specifically about Shaboy, or however you pronounce his name, Anatoly, that is actually also being reported on the other side. They're saying that too. So in this case, we can see a piece of information that is reported similarly on the east and the west side of the conflict, so to speak.
Which not a lot of this has. Almost every article we go over and we check and see if we have an alternative side, and then we end up putting that either on the website or on the show. A lot of this, like, so a good example, they said one of the airfields was taken over, and that Russia's troops were just running for the hills, and they retreated. On the other side, they had a video of them taking it, and then them taking actual UKR soldiers hostage. And it wasn't like a short, like out of context video. It was hours and hours with multiple angles. You could see clearly the name of the airfield and what was going on. Again, you can go to Rumble and check those out for yourself. They're not allowed over on other platforms. So this one, it does look like he is leaving, so I don't know what's going on with that. And then as many as 40,000 bear troops killed. Now, this one is not confirmed. Did you find anything? I couldn't find anything about this being confirmed.
Is coming. What's crazy is this is coming from official NATO, right? So, they're saying it could be, and they're saying, I guess total. I don't know if I've heard the 15,000 number before. I've heard the 10,000 and the 5,000, and of course numbers will grow over time. But yeah, it's really hard to get official numbers because obviously the other side's not reporting it, or if they do, it's rare. And when they do, you're going to expect them to underinflate. And I think most people will probably, or most nations would probably undercount the number when they're making a report like this because they don't want to look a certain way or look like they're weak.
Can I ask? Can we look up how many died in the Normandy D-Day beach event there? And I'm trying to be careful there. I want to see how many people perished in that event.
It's believed that 4,413 Allied troops were done on D-Day.
So that would be
and
10
the estimates
times.
range between 4,000 and 9,000 on the other side, the German side.
So that's 10 times as many folks died on D-Day in the last month, right, in this event. I don't know. A couple of people, I just wonder if in today's day and age, and supposedly one of those sides has internet there, why aren't they sharing, I guess, more kind of live satellite footage of what's going on, show the battle? Any battle has had someone go with them with a video camera. I guess it's so crazy that we are really having, a lot of people are having a hard time believing what is going on. It's like, will we see it later down the road? Will some of these people go out there with cameras and get the battle?
Well, and remember, our media is not traveling with our troops. Our troops are not actually there. They're behind a line, so to speak. The media in the country is consolidated by order of their president, similar to the fact that they consolidated or removed all opposition parties there as well. So there's these things that are happening that make it really hard to get information out, right? That we typically would see, like when we were in the ME, even in the number 1 and number 2 in the ME, those times, we had, while some of it was, stretched and some of it was green screened, there was many people that, were called out over at, CNN, to name a company, right? That had some weird looking sets, but there were reporters at the front lines, so to speak. They had access. They were able to report, should they choose to report accurately, right? They at least were there. And I don't know that we necessarily have as much of that in this particular situation.
Yeah, no embedded troops, and that has not changed for the U.S. troops that are on the eastern flank. And the UKR, it's like they're doing promotional videos, highly edited, and I'm not saying edited like fake, like actual edited like commercial promotional videos, like the heart of UKR. Meanwhile, on the other side, we won't see that anywhere because everybody's banning them. The stuff that we do see, they basically, Russia has now banned CNN and others from being there, or they have said that there's a 15-year sentence if they share fake news. So most of them are like, well, we're not going to chance it. Go ahead.
Well, and also let's keep in mind our president right now is in Europe, and he's got multiple stops from meetings with NATO and other people, and I think it winds up ending in Poland on Friday. The reason that's important to think about this is if you go down this rabbit hole of what things may be presented and how they may be orchestrated, to use that word, this would be a time that you would worry about that, because this could be an opportunistic time to create one heck of a headline with him being in the European theater, so to speak, right?
Yeah. So I want to say that in the next few days, we could very well have some very, very interesting things happen. So we'll be following closely. I would highly recommend, if you have not already, if you're new to this channel, make sure to go check out our live shorts channel. It is now almost to 220,000 subscribers. It is our bigger channel. Make sure to go over and subscribe to that. That is called Marfoogle News. This channel is called Marfoogle TV. It is our sister channel. It does short, to-the-point videos. Dex, violence escalates at the border town as cartel filmed aiming AK-47 at a helicopter. It's kind of like we see more video of these guys than certain people. It appears that violence at the U.S. border is escalating as a cartel member has been filmed aiming an AK at a Texas patrol helicopter. The helicopter caught footage of a suspected pointing a weapon in the direction of the chopper near the U.S.-Mexico border. And it is, by the way, we have people in Juarez, or I'm not Juarez, the Texas, other side of Texas. There's Juarez, and it's on the border of the Texas city. I want to say, now I'm totally having a brain pause here. One of our viewers sent in and said that they are having kind of these local alerts on the border there, and they are getting things like stay in your home because there was some sort of thing that went down with the cartels over the last week. Like they've been having like bang outs at the borders and stuff. So something is going on with that as well, as we know.
At El Paso or Laredo?
I want to say Laredo.
El Paso Juarez or Laredo Nuevo?
El Paso doesn't sound like it either. Neither one. I want to say Laredo over El Paso. Yeah. I'll try to show. I'll ask them if we can show that email. But I know more about the Juarez side of things just because of the few documentaries I've watched. But you don't really see so much come over to the U.S. side. Now there's a lot of stuff coming over to the U.S. side. We all know that with the cartels is also involved three-letter agencies. So who knows what is happening next? Stephen McMahon.
Well, and hang on, Adam. I'm sorry to interrupt real quick. The other thing that's happening here is this is like the third incident. Maybe it's probably like the fourth incident of significance in the last few months. There was an incident where they actually shot across the border, and we returned across the border with it. So this escalation, so to speak, of the cartels it's getting to a new level, and a lot of these things have happened in the last few months, in the end of 21 and in the first few months of this year. More and more of this is sort of escalating, and it's not. We still have our issues at the border there, so to speak, but this whole notion of the cartels and the rashness that they have. And what they're willing to do just seems to be amping up.
Well, I mean, we're talking about groups that actually behead people in the middle of the street. So,
yeah, and they make a ton of money. Like their entire livelihood is, coming across that line, not for themselves, but for what they either bring across, whether it's people or narcotics or other things, right? So if anybody is doing anything to harm that or cut that off, they're ruthless. They're going to do whatever it takes.
Oh yeah, I mean there are people that are so scared of it that police are on the payroll down there. I mean, the corruptness of, and people could say that it's better in Mexico. You're talking about where however many of the actual people that run the narco units, all of them have been taken out. Like, very few people will even take that position in law enforcement because they're afraid that not only they will lose their life, but then their families will lose their life. Like, we don't have it bad in most places here in the United States. People down there have a whole different kind of story down there. That is part of the culture there. I mean, it's my neighbor just went to Mexico, and she saw different what do you call it, convoys. And I said, where was this? And she said, oh, well, and then she pointed out that some of it was normal. I went down there a few times, and I lived there for a little bit when I was younger, and outside Bucerías and Sayulita. In Sayulita, which was before it was a tourist trap, was a little tiny village, and at the time there were dudes with, automatic weapons protecting the town from the cartel. But what she pointed out is she sent some of this stuff, and I saw this military, and I'm like, whoa. She's like, oh, no, that's normal. That's always there. She's like, what she was pointing out was all of the convoys and all of the guys with the weapons. She's like, oh, no, those are always there. So it's like, it's a different thing down there. It's a whole different monster. But who knows? What if we also had some sort of conflict come over to our side from the cartel? That would also be another thing that I think that a lot of parts in the United States, think about if they did that kind of stuff here and did it organized and just thousands of things happen. And with everybody that is coming, just hundreds of thousands a month from every country in the world, we could see some really crazy, nasty stuff. Stephen McMahon, God bless all of you. Tomorrow, Thursday night, will be really pivotal. I heard reliable sources. Another, really creepy date that keeps being thrown out there is the 30th. And I think I shared some stuff on Twitter. People keep saying the 30th, the 30th, the 30th. I don't share dates like that because almost 99% of the time they're fake, or it's just regarding something else. But some of the things around it do kind of creep me out. I mean, it's not like I'm completely, I can't absolve myself of believing some of that stuff too. It's like some of that stuff comes across, and it comes across really real. There's a lot of chatter around the 30th, but I don't think it's anything that's going to be big. Hopefully not. And then Do Imaging, Karen Hedrick. And Reb Hill, thank you, says, talking to my boss today, a dentist, I told him about our EMP shields. He didn't even know what an EMP is. Well, before the day was over, he went through your webpage and bought one. That's awesome. But see, a dentist, obviously he's been to over 8 years of school, and he's a smart guy. Most likely a very smart person, was able to do 8 years of college, but doesn't know what an EMP is. This is exactly what we're talking about. People don't know what's going to hit them. Richard Goder and Tanya Vargas, thank you. Over on DLive, thank you everybody that has popped in tonight. We have Zippy Moons, Spahuku, and it's J562, Charity 1956, Greifley, Vicky K, Mersa 1. Thank you for gifting out a badge to Badger. It's kind of funny. And then thank you... Release the Quacken and Steph 79, Roll 89, and everybody else that popped in. Sanjay DLive TV, I'm excited to go check out your channel. Thank you for popping in and supporting. So before we go over kind of the web-only stuff, there's a lot to go over. I do want to remind you, if you do want to get your ducks in a row, go over to marfooglenews.com/prep. Again, you can get everything from long-term survival food to actual iodine pills, which, again, is something that a lot of preppers at least have 1 or 2 bottles around just in case. But otherwise, there's much more realistic things like water filtration systems. The Alexa Pure Pro is one of the most incredible, efficient machines. It is a filtration system And again, it is a lot less than its competitors, and it is an extremely high quality product. Again, if you don't want to spend, $1,000 on a water filtration system, then I'd highly recommend the Alexa Pure. It is an awesomely rated water filtration system. And then, of course, you have long-term survival food that will last years, to the point where you can even you might even beat inflation just by going that way. You might instead eat your long-term survival food rather than going to the store. If the prices keep going up and up. You can go to marfooglenews.com/prep. And then, Dex, if you can quickly go over the giveaway, and then, of course, all of the web only.
Absolutely. So head over to marfooglenews.com, click on the thumbnail for the show, and scroll down to web only content. You'll get the rest of the story, including the EMP Shield contest. And for those of you who are having a problem finding it, either check your email. We sent out an email blast to the alerts email, or on YouTube, open the description. Both the link to this page and the link to the contest are right there, so you can get to it. It is super simple. The final days, maybe a day and a half left, depending on time zones, 2 days tops left on this. So get in while you can. Back to the rest of the story, everything else that we can't cover, stuff that may be too political, too far to one side or the other, too opinionated, or too hot for TV, so to speak, it is in this web-only content section. So go check it out. Lots happening. Plenty of sound bites coming out of our congressional leaders, specifically the Senate, and what's happening there. Other sound bites coming from other folks that are worth hearing. Stuff happening around that event from January, over a year ago now, and what's happening to those folks. And even new stuff coming to light around some of the people that didn't like the way the counting systems were working. So go take a look. You can find that and much, much more on marfooglenews.com, clicking on the thumbnail for today's show and scrolling down to web-only content, or on YouTube, open that description. It's so simple. Just click right there, expand it. The first link is show notes, and the second link is the EMP Shield contest. So get in there if you want to win. All right.
Thank you, Dex, and thank you for, again, doing everything you do. I appreciate you. And then, of course, everyone, thank you. A special thank you to Gone Girl 777, EOD Vet, and Veteran Steve. Susan Donahue, wherever you are, thank you so much. And, of course, Irish Rebel, thank you for being the top supporter tonight. I appreciate all of you over on DLive. Thank you so much. Again, it is now time for the shoutro. It's not an outro. It's not a shout-out. It's a shoutro.
They said it was out of service. All of it is done on purpose. They said it was out of service. All of it is done on purpose. Misconduct and Scrappy-Doo, Scooby-Doo, right respect.
Oh, by the way, CJ Blaze and all of the other mods down there, Lisa R. Hall, a very special thank you. The Major, Bobby of Joy, Rob Mills, sorry. I can read, I promise.